There we go. Thank you, Dee, for that reminder. So we are now
Fun.
officially recording. And again, I'll repeat, today's session is campus safety and transportation. And Dee Dancer is here with us, Chief of Public Safety.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining us. My name is Dee Dancer, and I am the Assistant Vice President of Student Life and the Chief of Public Safety at Dickinson. Public Safety at Dickinson is a sworn armed police department. So we have, like I said, a standalone police department. It's not security. So what we do is we're able to help secure the campus and make it a supportive and safe learning and living environment for students. We work closely with the local police department too, but we have the primary law enforcement jurisdiction on campus. While we are police officers, that's not the way we don't handle ourselves like the average police department. I've been in law enforcement now for 45 years. And so I've seen a lot in different times, worked in city police departments, county police departments, and for a large state university. So our philosophy here is that number one, safety is a collaborative venture. So it requires everybody in the community because we can't be everywhere at every time to look out for each other, to familiarize themselves with safety practices and to know who to contact. The other thing is that we consider ourselves a part of the community, not something standalone and separate from. And what I mean by that is that many police departments have this very transactional relationship with their communities. Basically, a crime occurs or the police officer observes, somebody run through a stop sign, and that's the only interactions that they are having with visitors or constituents in their community. We put ourselves out there every day. We come to the same place to work. We eat at the same place as the students and the faculty and staff. We go to the same events. And we want people to understand that just because we wear a uniform, we are not approachable, that we are approachable, that we are human beings like everybody else, and that we are here to build relationships with students. If you don't take the time to establish those sort of relationships in your community, I really don't believe that anything good will come out of that, that we need to all work together. And people are not willing to reach out for assistance or to even report crimes if they're uncomfortable with their law enforcement agency. So how do we do that? Well, we spend a lot of time out and about with students, everything from different presentations that we do. First year students, there'll be sort of a meet and greet with public safety, just getting to know who everybody is. That's why I call myself D. I don't call myself Chief Dancer. Most of my officers, you'll see, refer to themselves by their names, like, hi, I'm Rob, I'm Scott, I'm Bill, because that's what matters, is that we're connecting as human beings. The people that work here have a tremendous commitment to the college. They are here because they want to work with college and college-age students, and they enjoy being part of this community. Our officers, in addition to doing patrol, they do everything from if a student is on campus late at night and wants to go from one location to another, we have services where an officer can escort the student. We also have a student patrol called the CSAs, who they do those sort of escorts too. So a student can let you into your building if you're locked out, or they can walk with you after dark. College also has a safety shuttle that runs from generally 7 o'clock to midnight or so. Every day classes are in session. It's basically a loop bus service with stops at different areas around campus, completely free. Students could get on and off at any time, and it's generally driven by other students. It also has a stop out in Walmart, which is open late at night. Our officers act as liaisons to different groups on campus. Everything from athletic teams to some Greek organizations, there are some peer organizations in LGBTQ areas that officers are liaisons to. And what that means is we want to make sure that students know not just to call an emergency number, but that there's a specific person that they could reach out to if they feel comfortable. speaking just to that person. So, you know, if I've got two officers, Rob and Scott, who are liaisons to the women's basketball team, they go to a lot of the basketball games, almost all of them. They've developed relationships with those students that are student athletes on that team, with the coaches. And those folks know that if they have a question they don't feel comfortable calling the police department about, that they can just send Rob or Scott an email or a text message and say, hey, I'm going through this situation. I'm not sure what to do. The other thing we do is offer those students guidance as they ask for it for a career. So, for example, we had a member of a team who was interested in getting an internship in a federal law enforcement agency. And we were able to, Officer Scott was able to work with that student, and the student got an internship with the DEA, which was wonderful. As a result of that internship, when that student was getting ready to graduate this past May, she applied for and received a job at a federal law enforcement agency with Officer Scott, as well as other people here, acting as references for her and also using the internship that she had. So we've helped students get internships with local judges, federal law enforcement agencies, local law enforcement agencies, in the prisons here. So it's just another thing that we do to try to go out of our way to help students and build relationships. We are 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have our own dispatch center here. So when you call the emergency number for Dickinson College, you are actually speaking to somebody on the grounds of Dickinson College, not some big call center off campus. There is a county 911 center that anybody can dial. We also have a great relationship with them. They have the ability to transfer calls immediately over to us or to get on the radio system. The police radio system in the county is shared, so we can speak to police officers any place throughout the county. So if Carlisle police were given a call that belonged to actually on campus, they could call our officers on the radio and say, hey, we received this call. Do you need us to respond to assist? Or if not, do you have it? Same thing goes with the emergency medical services. Those are available 24 hours a day, both as if you need an ambulance, or just say that you aren't feeling well and you want to go to an urgent care or a hospital, and there is not a situation where you need an ambulance. Well, we've got free transportation for students in a couple ways around that. During the daytime hours, college runs a medical van service that's free that operates out of the wellness center through my office, and they take students to doctor's appointments, to pick up prescriptions, over to the hospital if it's non-emergency. In the evening hours, when the safety shuttle is running, they have the ability to take students to urgent care or over to the hospital. And then we also have a service where if students need to go to even the emergency facility, but they don't need an ambulance, students call us. We dispatch an Uber, which is paid for by the college, and the Uber will transport students to the hospital as well as pick them back up. And when all else fails, if none of that's available, an officer will put a student in a car and take them over there if we don't need to have an ambulance on site. Clearly, if it's an emergency, life or death situation, we call the ambulance service, and they have very prompt service to campus, generally less than 5 or 6 minutes. So that's a good thing. Let's see other services that we have. I will tell you, if your student is bringing a bicycle to campus, one of the best things they can do is register it with our office. We give them a sticker that has a Dickinson registration number, and we keep their serial number and the information on the bike on file. That way, if the bicycle was to be stolen, and we don't get many stolen bicycles, but we do get some, primarily some that have not been secured, we have the information. Very few people will say, you know, my bicycle was stolen, and by the way, the serial number is this and it's this. Where we have that information on file, it's a lot easier for us to enter into a stolen property system, where if it turns up any place, the police are able to look up the serial number and know that it was stolen from this location. Also, bringing a bicycle, use a sturdy lock. I mentioned that earlier. Oh, one of those big U-shaped locks. Cable locks are not sturdy. There are plenty of places on campus to secure a bicycle to, but I would suggest they do that. Tell your student not to bring expensive things to campus with him. What I mean like that is like very expensive watches and things. There's no reason to bring things like that to campus with you unless you're going to be wearing it all the time, or if you're going to bring a little safe in your room, that's a good idea. We want students to know too that when you come to college, it's still the real world. You know, most people won't go to like the mall and leave their laptop down and walk away for 3 hours and expect it to be there when they come back. But they will do that in a college library or in a student union, which is open during the daytime to the general public. So we want to educate everybody to don't walk away from your personal property, right? And if something happens, to report it to us immediately. It's much easier for us to figure out what happened to something if you repeat it or report it right after it occurred instead of like a week later. There are cameras all over the college system. That's one of the security methods that they have. They're not in residence halls, but they're at the entrances as well as most exterior areas on campus. So when we receive a report of a crime in a timely manner, we are able to check a lot of those resources, as well as there are many public cameras in the borough of Carlisle, and we can get that information quickly from the Carlisle police. College is also, almost every building is secured by a card access system. And students are given access cards when they come to school. They'll access their residence hall, as well as the student union, the library, and academic buildings, athletics buildings. Most of the buildings have some time restrictions, although there are a number of buildings, like a couple of academic buildings that are open 24 hours a day, like the Rector Science Center. And that just means that students can go in that building 24 hours a day to study. If they don't want to study in their residence hall, or if it's after the library closes, there are plenty of spots in that building and a couple others that are open 24 hours a day for students to go in and study. Transportation to and from campus. So we are about half an hour or so from the Harrisburg Airport, as well as the Harrisburg Bus and Train Station. So off break times, there is transportation through Uber and Lyft that you can get to those areas, as well as other car services. During semester breaks, we offer transportation from campus directly to those Harrisburg transportation sites. Students can sign up for that online. You go to the public safety website and look in the transportation area, and it will give you all the information on break shuttles. And those are vans or minibuses that leave right from campus with only our students on them. And they run every couple hours steady before and after a break. For people that are in the New England area, we used to have a shuttle service with an outside bus company in that area who went out of business a couple of years ago. They recently are restarting business and have reached back out to us to see if we can set that up. So we will see if that happens. When that service ran last time, it was a big charter bus with just our students that left from campus. And it would make stops in northern New Jersey, the New York City area, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, ending in the Boston area. So we're hoping to have something like that up and running, although I can't promise it at this point. It depends on the outside carrier. Let's see. Trying to think other things I can say. You know, crime at Dickinson is relatively low, but I think that's a product of, you know, that we are not in an urban environment. It is the county seat, but it's not a huge town. There is a lot of transit back and forth because we're also a big transportation hub. Just outside of Carlisle are two major east-west, north-south transportation crossroads in the Pennsylvania Turnpike and Interstate 81. So there is a lot of transient traffic back and forth. We also in town have the U.S. Army War College, which brings people from all over the country to attend command staff training and leadership training. So we do have people in and out. This is not a college where things are walled off. So most of the grounds are open to the public. Buildings, not so much. All residence halls are only accessible to the people that live there and select college staff. They are not open to other students or to the outside community ever. Same thing with administrative buildings and academic buildings. They are open during the daytime hours. to the public, but most of them are only accessible by card access after 5 p.m. So it is a pretty secure campus. Most of the crime that does happen here is crime of opportunity. I mentioned unsecured bicycles or leaving something out on a bench in the academic quad and expecting it to be there when you come back. But it is a relatively safe community. Carlisle itself is also. I think it's helpful that all the law enforcement agencies in the county really work together well too, not just in if we need help, but we do, for instance, with the Carlisle Police, a lot of joint training on everything from what we call active assailant, you might call active shooter, as well as, riot type training, which is called field force in the law enforcement world, how to deal with big events, security for big events. So we do work on all of those sort of activities together. Student organizations on campus, which there are many. We also have the ability for those student organizations to rent transportation. The college has a general use fleet that is a fleet of vans and minibuses that runs out of my office. And those vans and minibuses are used by some athletic teams for academic field trips and field work, as well as for student organizations. So if student organizations want to use a van to just say, take people to a performance in Philadelphia, there's an opportunity for them to do that. There's an opportunity and a process through that student organization to make sure that people get driver certified, as well as sign out the van, a college van, which we do all the upkeep on, and then it's billed back to their individual student organization. So there are opportunities for other transportation outside of the area, beyond Uber. And student organizations run trips all the time to different places in the area, whether it be sometimes to Washington, D.C. for special events. If we've got athletics teams that are doing well and are going to post-season play, we've offered transportation to off-campus games for those that sort of play. I said, we are a 24-hour a day, 7-day a week operation, always here. Not just about law enforcement. If you're trying to figure out your career, we deal with kids a lot of times who are struggling to find their friend group. And maybe they run into an officer and just start to talk to them. And so we develop those relationships and help students sort of connect to those groups, or we can provide them access to other resources on campus. But we try to be here in any way, shape, or form. Parents, what we can discuss with your students is often, with you about your students is often limited. Number one, if you haven't been to the session yet, FERPA, the Family Education Rights and Protection Act, does not allow folks at the college, employees at the college, to speak to you about your individual student unless they've signed what they call a FERPA release. So if that's the information you're willing to get, that you're interested in getting, make sure you discuss that release with your son or daughter, or your student. So if there isn't an actual emergency involving your student, we will certainly contact you, whether it be us or somebody from the Dean of Students office, whether there's a FERPA release or not. And what I mean by that is if your student is severely ill or severely injured, or unfortunately they're arrested, somehow we will get that information to you and discuss it, whether or not there'd be some limits on what we can discuss about arrest if there's no FERPA, but there is information that we can provide to you. If an officer can't provide it, I am available 24 hours a day. I give students my cell phone number readily. And so all you would have to do is contact our dispatch center, which is 24 hours a day. And they would contact me if need be. If an on-duty officer or supervisor couldn't help, they would certainly contact me. And I'm a bit of a night owl, so I'm often looking at my phone till about midnight or so. And students know that. So they do periodically send me a message. Oftentimes it's like, hey, Dee, I got a town parking ticket. What do I do with that? So try to help them negotiate those bumps along the road. I really can't think of much else I want to say right now. There's information about crime on campus that we publish through the Campus Safety Act, which is also called the Clery Act. It is on the college website. If you look at crime information, it gets published every October and it has crime information for the 3 previous calendar years. Also has information about security on campus, different resources available around security, how buildings are maintained, fire safety systems. All that information is out there. It's about a 120-page document that gets updated every year. We also post a new requirement in the law, in the federal law, is information about hazing and instances of hazing. Although Pennsylvania has had an anti-hazing law for years, and we've published some information related to those instances on campus. So a lot of information out there. If you can't find what you want on the website, just send me an email and I will certainly respond back to you and let you know. Same thing with phone calls. I will give you my dispatch number, which is 717-245-1349. The email is security@dickinson.edu, and those are both monitored 24 hours a day. 2 other services I just thought about to mention to you. There is a service on campus called Red Alert. That's the college's emergency notification system. That's how, in the event of an emergency, we need you to do something immediately to make yourself safe. The college is going to communicate with your students. Everybody that has a college email system is automatically enrolled in that system through their email. But students should go into their gateway and add other contact methods. And what I mean by that is you can put your cell phone number in so that you can receive voice or text messages. I strongly suggest that you have your student do that because in the event of something like a tornado coming, I think you want to hear somebody telling you what to do instead of just counting on the email going through. Parents often ask us too, can they sign up for that system? And I will tell you that while you cannot sign up directly for Red Alert, there is a workaround. Students can pick up to 8 different contact paths in Red Alert. So what you can do is add your phone number in as one of the contact paths. And then when your student gets the message, if they do not confirm receipt, it will roll over to the next contact path and you will be able to hear that information. So there is a workaround to that. The other thing is there's an app called Live Safe that's available to students, completely free. The good thing about Live Safe, that you can download it, is that you can report crime directly to that. That's also monitored 24 hours a day. If you don't want to make a phone call, you could send something in, whether it be crime or what we get on Live Safe is a lot of noise complaints. My neighbor's having a party and I'm trying to study, and officers respond to check on all those. Those reports can be anonymous. The other thing it does is sort of have a tracker portion of it, where if you are walking across campus going from one place to another, you can tell your friends where you're going and they can check on you along the way. So it's definitely a great safety related feature. And I strongly suggest that all students download that. And that is the Live Safe app. Again, all available on the website. And that's about all I have. Is there a question? Do I see? Oh, cars allowed, students allowed to have cars on campus. So students are, except for first years, we have limited parking on campus. So first year students are not allowed to bring a car to campus, whether it's parked on the city streets, and they do figure that out, or in the parking lots, with some exceptions. So there is a process to request an exemption from the rule. And that is also available online. It is if a student has some off-campus family responsibilities, just say that they have a grandparent or something that lives nearby that's ill that they're required to go and check on periodically, or if a student has medical issues that require them to drive themselves back and forth to a doctor for some treatments with some regularity, as well as certain sports like the golf team. Their practice facilities are off campus where there is no transportation to. Those are the sort of things that you can request an exemption to the rule on, and we will evaluate them and let you know. And you could just send that request to the security@Dickinson account, and we will take a look at it and then respond to the student. If that answers your question. After their first years, yes, absolutely, they can bring a car to campus, and there's a process for getting a parking permit. Any other questions?
Any other questions? And I know Dee shared the phone number and email address, and, I'll just reiterate, please reach out anytime. I know, things will, for me, I'll think of something 5 minutes after the session's over. So please feel free to reach out if anything else comes up.
And there's no such thing as a silly question. The only silly question is the one that's not asked.
Yep.
So we're willing to help you figure out anything, even if it's, a student has some food restrictions, and there's people at the college that can help you if they can't find that food on campus to find it off campus. There's people to help you figure just about anything out. Well, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. Have a nice day.
All right, take care.
Bye.